Good evening. This is Deborah V. Wilson. I'm again just outside of Janesville, Wisconsin. It's still snowy here, but it's not snowing. And it's a little warmer. It is the 20th of December, 2016, Tuesday. The time is 2200 hours and 20 minutes, and that's GMT minus 6. Today's podcast is an unexpected one, but one that is very personal for me, and it's called I Learned What Privilege I Had When I Lost It. I'm African American. I was born in the 50s, late 50s, in Chicago, Illinois. Before I was born, my parents converted from Baptist to Catholicism because it was an intentional decision. It was a political decision, and they did the conversion before I was born because at that time Catholicism was the religion of power of people of privilege. So I was raised in private schools, primary school, secondary school, and undergraduate, all Catholic, very good education. And I'm jumping really fast, I experienced some racism in Chicago. Chicago is one of the most segregated cities in America, but I'm not only was I very educated, I'm gifted and I'm very intellectual and I'm very good at reading situations and people. So I knew how to remove myself quickly from racist situations. Okay, so I fared very well, and also I was always the special African American, two-parent home, educated, and I spoke really, really well. So people would always ask, "Are you really from Chicago?" Fast forward, I started traveling internationally. That was by choice, personal choice, because my mother was very political in Chicago politics, and my father loved Europe. He was a Francophile. I'm an Anglophile. The passion from both my parents about going into the world, understanding the world, led me to start my love affair with international travel. My first country was Britain. My first city was London. I immediately fell in love with the city, but it wasn't enough to be a tourist for me, so I started doing volunteer work. I initially started in the Afro-Caribbean community because, I'm black, and, Afro-Caribbeans are black. And then I started working with West African women because, you know what, we were all black. And then I remembered talking with those women about my career back in Chicago, and I had a corporate career and doing very, very well at the time. And I was working for some Fortune 500 companies, and I was doing this and I was doing that, and I had the disposable income to travel internationally. And then one day I actually made the statement whilst in London, and I was going to events in the House of Lords and the House of Commons. I was going to all these different organizations and these cocktail parties and these different meetings, and these were some of the shakers and movers of not just London, England, but the United Kingdom. And so I made the statement to some women of African descent, Afro-Caribbean women, African women. The thing I love about London, I said, is that there's no racism here. Well, yeah, I cringe even at the memory of saying it. Very quickly, I learned, even before the term was coined, of intersecting identities. Yes, I'm African American. Yes, I'm of African descent. You can tell very clearly, but I didn't understand that in London, people didn't see me necessarily as a black person, particularly after I spoke. They saw me as an American. And I didn't understand until an Afro-Caribbean woman said, when I was literally kicked out of a black women's organization, "You may be black, sister, but you're also American. You just don't get what we're going through." She was correct. I didn't get what they were going through, and I didn't get the privilege I had. So we're going to jump and fast forward, way ahead to 2001. 9/11 happened. I'm still doing my global trotting, and I'm still going to my places: Paris, Zurich, Geneva. Have you ever done grocery shopping in Rome? I have. I've flown from Chicago to Rome to do grocery shopping. I love Amsterdam. Oh my God, it's like the best. And Munich is so cute. That was my world. That was my life. I was doing a lot of international traveling. I was doing a lot of rubbing shoulders with some very powerful and successful people in London, England. I was doing a lot of volunteer work, and I was very, very good at it. Did tell you I was very educated, and I'm a bit gifted intellectually. Now, let's make it a lot. I started drawing the attention of some people of the state in the UK, and we're going to jump ahead, and I'm going to be a bit cryptic here because I want to keep this podcast very quick. And to make a long story short, something was said to people of the state in the U.S. I came through the airport, O'Hare Airport, International Airport. You know me, I was, jet setting again. Yeah. So I came back through the O'Hare Airport, and I was questioned by 4 people, 2 women, 1 white, 1 of Hispanic, Latin descent, a black man, and I think, I'm not sure, but I'm not sure the ethnicity of the man who took the notes, but he wasn't black, and he was a man, and he was the one that was guiding everyone. Well, anyway, the Hispanic woman said to me, when she starts going through my luggage, well, they ripped through it. She saw my Financial Times. She saw my reports, because I'm addicted to reading reports from home office. I was addicted to it, and I had all these printouts, all these reports, and I'm reading. And so then she said, and I quote, she asked, "Are you even American?" I didn't know that day that I had lost my privilege. That's approximately a decade ago. Fast forward again, I ended up in the UK in 2010. My privilege was gone. I was no longer American. I was just black. A black woman who was Muslim, the M word. My privilege was gone. And I do apologize for being so cryptic, but it's best. To make a long story short, and I am making a long story short, some people from the Middle East and some people from the Middle East interjected themselves into my situation. Some people from Ireland, they're all white, overwhelmingly male. And guess what happened? A situation which I previously had been powerless in, I wasn't powerless anymore. Because guess what? Some white men from the Middle East and some white men from Ireland came, validated me, in quotes. I got my privilege back. In that situation, I got my privilege back. Some people in the UK then interceded. White people, on the whole, I got my privilege back. So I then come back to the U.S., I've done some traveling. It's a long story. Won't bore you with the details. I guess that is what the book will be about. But the privilege I got back in Europe, it hasn't been returned to me here. So we're jumping ahead a little bit. Okay. So I'm working on my master's degree. I started a program in Canada. The goal is now to finish the program in Israel. And I'm on the lookout for a mentor, a retired man or woman who has some time in Israel. In addition to my advisor, I need a mentor. The skill set and my whole intellectual thing going, yeah, still there. And so my passion is looking at security models and how they're experienced, state-constructed security models, and how they're experienced by civilians, and how that experience affects and impacts the soundness of the state-constructed security model. I'm interested to have a retired person, perhaps from Israel. That would be, for me, a challenge, an intellectual challenge and a space to grow. I would say that this podcast is a bit of a ramble, but it actually isn't for me. The journey that I'm on, I've got more clarity on it now than I ever have. I'll update as much as possible. I still have my project that I'm working on. I'll be doing some traveling to Canada, Israel, yay, in the United Kingdom. And I'm hoping to find some consulting work there while I'm, to do the whole appropriate thing. But you know what? Once you've recognized the privilege you've had, even when you lost it, and it is lost to me here in the U.S., I know I had it, so I want it back. So this was a bit of a cryptic message, a bit of a cryptic podcast, but I hope at least some of you understood what I was saying. This is Debra V. Wilson. I'm just outside of Janesville, Wisconsin. It is Tuesday, the 20th of December, 2016. Yeah, I'll keep you updated. I will, where it's possible. I will let you know how my journey goes. And here's to being born to two people who, even though I didn't understand when they were telling me about their conversion from Baptist to Catholic and why they did it, here to my parents who taught me from almost day one the mechanism of privilege. Have a good evening.